Hello. I bet I sound a little weird through a mask. Hi, I'm Silky Kumo. We're gonna be making cookies today. Woo! This camera right here. I promise it's sturdy. It's a Gorilla Pod, so it's a little better than the other option I had. Get rid of this plastic. Cool. Okay, so there's 4 types of cookies that I'm gonna make, and I'm stupid, and they're all but one are cookies that require you to leave it in the freezer or fridge or whatever for at least 3 hours, or preferably overnight. So that's a slight issue, and I didn't make any of the dough beforehand because I ran out of time because I've got a lot of crap to do right now. Holidays. So yeah, we're gonna make 3 types to go in my fridge or freezer or whatever, I don't remember, and 1 to enjoy tonight. So we should probably start. No. Okay, I'm gonna do 1 freezer one, 2 freezer ones. I'm gonna do 2 freezer cookie recipes, then do the fresh one, and then the last freezer one. And then we get to enjoy cookies to eat today. Woo. So I've got double chocolate. I'm actually not doing double chocolate. I'm only doing single chocolate because I don't have any chocolate chips. Whoops. So double chocolate crinkle cookies from Sally's Baking Addiction. Gingerbread cookies, which are going to be super scuffed because I do not own a single cookie cutter. Oops. Also from Sally's Baking Addiction. These are both refrigerator cookie kind. Dough kind. Words are hard. Eggless thumbprint cookies from Cooking with Manali. She's an Indian American chef. I use a lot of her recipes for my Indian food. So those are also refrigerator kind, and we're gonna miss the last step. I was hoping to do those ones beforehand so that we could like scoop jam into them, but I'll be doing that tomorrow morning. Woot. And then brown butter cookies, also from Cooking with Manali. Those ones we'll be able to enjoy tonight. So let's get started. We've got lots to do tonight, lots of reflective surfaces. I am fairly prepared. Ooh. Believe it or not, this is my least reflective knife because of all the hammered crap. So, here we are. Even more reflective surfaces. Oh boy. Anyway. So I've got all my ingredients and spoons and other things laid out here. I've got a cookie tray there. Off to the side, ready for the brown butter snowball cookies, which I'll have to run away for a minute for. To actually brown the butter. You can also skip browning the butter, so I don't know, I might skip it. It's been a night. Yeah, so let's start with the double chocolate crinkle cookies. These are the quintessential Christmas cookies for me, because that's what my mother always made every year, were these these like chocolate crinkle cookies. So finally when I was like able to bake things on my own, I figured out what they were and have been making them every year since. I'm not a Christmas person. That's why I keep on drawing Grinch crap on my schedules. I don't like Christmas, but I do like cookies. And I like baking. And hopefully y'all can learn things. Maybe not. This is pretty scuff. I don't want to bring my mixer and I'm gonna be like strong arming it. Wah! Got an elastic around my wrist. Okay. So yeah, if you look up any of these recipes, you can follow along if you want. I like to use single bowl for everything, so I mix my wet ingredients and then add the dry ingredients to it. This is highly reflective. Oh boy. Anyway. No, yeah, these can stay here. Okay. Oh wow, you can see my books over my desk. Anyway, yeah, so let's start with the butter. This cutting board actually does not need to be used until the very end. So, we got this. What is even in... Oh, that's my sewing crap. You can see my sewing crap. Oh, no. Oh, no. Whatever. Okay. Let's get started. Beat the butter, sugar, brown sugar. Okay, so our brown sugar is rock frickin' solid. So we're gonna start off with one of these handy knives and just stab the crap out of it, hoping to get a little bit out of this. So I don't have a ton of sugar, so what little sugar I have left is gonna be spread out amongst all these recipes. For the record, this is freaking pathetic, and I'm aware of it. How much of the brown sugar do we need? Half a cup. Okay, well, let's get the half cup out. Let's see what we can get out of this right now. Oh, wow. Not a lot. Ay, ay, ay. I was hoping this wouldn't be as much of a pain today. I don't know why I was hopeful. Well, that's me giving up for now. I'm grabbing the white sugar. This calls for an entire cup of sugar. Yikes. What if I made these semi-sweet? The sugar melted a little bit to the side of the jar once because I left it a bit too close to my stovetop. The very hot pan on it. Oopsies. Oh god, I already have sugar everywhere. It's got a really good sound to it, eh? Okay, that's all we're going to be adding. I'm going to add a bit of liquefied sweetener. Let's get some of this in here. Okay, I'll be back in a second. Just grabbing liquid sweetener. Whoa, I am attached. I do not like this option, but here we is. I'm just reading about how to substitute it. Okay. Cool. We'll actually be using a decent amount of this. I'm not going to measure it, because YOLO. calling that. Good. Perfect. Yeah. Okay, what's next? So we have our sugar. We need our butter. So I've left this this butter sitting out for the last 2 hours, so it should be at room temperature or at least close to. So it's a little softer and it's easier to beat with the sugar. Because this is important, that's why I didn't use up all the sugar, is so that it can be beaten with the butter. Okay, how much butter? Half cup. Or 1 stick of butter. That'll be this line. Oh yeah. Goes through a lot easier. What I'm going to do quickly is just chop it into some smaller pieces. So I hate myself a little bit less. When I go to mix this by hand, like a big stupid dummy who doesn't want to use electric mixers in their bedroom. I've just painted the walls of my kitchen with things with those mixers before. I don't particularly want to do it in my bedroom as well. We're going to keep the butter out because we're going to need it for basically everything. Just continue chopping it. It's not really visible that I'm chopping it into small pieces, but whatever, your loss. Ah! No! I have butter on my table. Lots of little bits of butter. I'm also right-handed, if you haven't figured out. Okay. I'm sure our friend corn syrup will help us mix this up a little bit better. I'm just going to casually slide this butter right under the camera. Okay. Beat butter, sugar, sugar until fluffy and creamy. Well, we're just going for good enough mix. So kind of what I do is I don't really mix. Like, I give it a quick mix to sort of get the sugar and the butter familiar with each other. But what I really want to do is mash up the butter. So that's why I'm like stabbing it. So that it's not in slices. More of the inside bits of the butter get familiar with the sugar. Break up some of these chunks of brown sugar. Oh, this is not going to end well for me. Brown sugar all over the floor, I'm sure. That is a very solid block. Where did the other half go? Oops. Yeah. So what we're going to end up with at the end of this, if mixing by hand, it's kind of like a nice smooth clump of butter and sugar, because it'll all be blended together properly. So I kind of like cut chunks of butter in half as I'm going. Oh my god. Butter on my floor. Will this help? A little bit. I'm just standing up now. starting to clump together a little bit more now. Oh yeah, that's looking a lot better. Yeah, so it's, there we go. It's just kind of one big clump of butter and sugar at this point. So it's not necessarily as fluffy as a recipe may describe, but it's like fluffy enough. That's kind of what you get with a stand mixer anyway, just with less of the workout. Hey, cooking stream. Yeah, I'm cooking! Well, I'm making cookies. Oh god, where's my camera? There we go. Woo! How you doing? Welcome. Right now we're making the double chocolate crinkle cookies from Sally's Baking Addiction, but lots of reflections. Also, I don't have chocolate chips, so they're single chocolate crinkle cookies. Okay, what do I need next? Egg and vanilla. Ooh. It's always good to have, like, pure vanilla extract and not, like, fake vanilla extract, artificial. The real stuff is so much better. But they're going to turn out great. Thank you! I make these ones every year. They're my quintessential Christmas cookies, despite the fact that I don't really like Christmas. How? Oh god, my hands are buttery. My mouse. 1 teaspoon. Where? My teaspoon. Teaspoon. Woo! Have you ever tried just like drinking vanilla extract? Does not taste nearly as good as it smells. It smells more like amazing, delicious vanilla-ness, but it tastes like not so great liquor. I've also left my eggs out at room temperature. I just say to do it. I don't really know why, but it's interesting to watch you bake. Thank you! We're gonna be here for a bit. Oh god. Raw egg on my desk. I forgot to bring paper towels. Ugh. Why am I a stupid dummy? Okay, well, I conveniently have a Kleenex here. So that's gonna be where I put my eggs. Okay. Yeah, I don't really recommend trying just vanilla extract on its own. It's not fantastic. Okay, so we've got the vanilla and the egg in here. It's gonna make it a little bit more liquidy. Here's a trick. If you ever get, stupid clump of brown sugar. If you ever get eggshell in whatever you're cooking, the best way to get eggshell out is a larger piece of eggshell. It'll, like, somehow be attracted to the larger piece of eggshell, and it's easier to scoop it out. So we're gonna give it a good mix. You'll stay for a bit, because it's kind of like, been late waking up almost every day recently. Oh no! Thanks, it's almost the holidays. Hopefully get a bit of time off. Don't have to worry quite as much about when you wake up. But yeah, feel free to leave whenever. I'm glad you tuned in. Kind of looks like scrambled eggs. Can never get the directions right. Okay, good enough. Scrambled egg mess. Scrape down the bottom, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we're going to add the dry stuff to the wet stuff. In theory, I've done this beforehand, but I never do it. So we're just gonna take it as it comes. I'm just gonna go grab a paper towel. I'll be back in a second. Ah, fuck, I keep on forgetting. My headphones are on my head. we go. Oh no. Another 3 weeks until you get a break. That's unfortunate. I'm sorry. We got given a half day on Friday, so that's exciting. Okay, so now we're going to add the dry ingredients, which are flour, cocoa powder, baking soda, and salt. There, you're supposed to mix them together beforehand. As I said, I don't do that because I'm lazy. So, whatever. There we go. 1/4 teaspoon is this thing. It calls for 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. So, we're just gonna fill it like halfway and call it. Next is baking soda. Different from baking powder. Now, baking soda is just its own thing. Baking powder is a mix of baking soda and I think cornstarch. So, if it calls for baking soda, you shouldn't use baking powder kind of thing, but you can use baking soda in place of baking powder if you add like cornstarch. Okay, 1 teaspoon. Well, we're gonna add this one 4 times, because whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. This can go here now. Okay. Let's add the... Ooh, I'm gonna add a pinch of cinnamon because that'd be nice. A little bit. Just a little bit of cinnamon. Okay, we need the cocoa powder and the flour. Really, on the, can I reach? There we go. I swear this is cocoa powder. Plan to take a nice long break after? Nice, it's good. A cup, or a half cup and 2 tablespoons. Good enough. I'm not really a precise kind of person, as we're gonna discover today. Okay, and then I just need flour. Can I reach? There was a knife on top of there. It's on the floor now. That's a problem for later me. Okay, how much flour? 1 cup, spooned and leveled. For a lot of things, like if you want kind of like fancier stuff, it's really important to be spooning it in and leveling it instead of just scooping where it's like uneven. But I'm also lazy as crap, so I'm gonna say that this is good enough. Okay, so now we've got all this powder sitting on top of our scrambled egg looking mixture, and we are going to very carefully, so that we don't get powder all over our rooms, mix it in. What I like about this is that it seems like really, really dry at first, but the more that all the ingredients become familiar with each other, the more it kind of comes together. Now, this is a recipe that calls for freezing for a few hours, so we're not going to see the results of these today, but essentially what ends up happening is you make all these like little balls of like chocolate cookie basically, and you roll it in powdered sugar, so icing sugar. There we go. This just looks like a jar of white stuff, but it's icing sugar, I swear. So I'll post pictures on Twitter of that tomorrow when I get to that step. See, it's starting to get a little darker. Everything's getting wetter and coming together. Occasionally just wipe off the spoon, because that's where a lot of the wetness accumulates, and you want that wetness to become familiar with all the dry powder that's sitting around. You can go there. I'm just going to go at this with my hands, because it's just easier. So, you kind of want to sometimes make like a big divot, wet spot kind of thing, and start pouring the drier powder stuff that's sitting around on the edges into it, so that you can kind of fold it and incorporate it into your dough. So now we've got some space. I have dough on my apron that I'm actually wearing for once. Figure if there's a day to do it, it's the day my identity is in danger. So yeah, it's almost done. And then we're gonna let this sit in the freezer, which y'all won't see. Just getting the stuff off the sides. Mostly accumulating in the bottom though. Yeah, as long as it tastes good in terms of like the exact proportions, that's exactly it. This one might be a little bit more on the bittersweet side, because I didn't add as much sugar as it calls for, but I tend to try to not to, because I don't like things quite as sweet. The family members that will be eating these also don't like things quite as sweet, so it kind of works out. Okay, yeah, now we're getting a nice wet ball. Looks like shit. I made this one recipe called like chocolate icebox cookies once. I've made them a couple times actually. But you end up rolling it out into a log shape, letting it freeze, and then cutting it into planks. But it looks like a log of shit when you pull it out of the freezer. It's hilarious. You have no knowledge on cooking. That's kind of why I want to do these types of streams, though, is kind of teach people about cooking. Well, here's our lovely log of shit. I swear it will be delicious. And that's basically that for this recipe. And again, tomorrow I will be rolling these in powdered sugar and baking them. Ooh, my desk. But yeah, that's that. I'm gonna put this on the floor. Next up, I only own metal bowls in terms of large cooking bowls. Okay, I'm getting crumbs of these cookies in it. Whatever. Okay, next we're going to be making let's say the eggless thumbprint cookies from Cooking with Manali. Oops, we're gonna get some chocolate in there from my very wet gloves. Okay, well, whatever. So same thing, we're gonna start with mixing the wet ingredients in here, and then adding the dry stuff and mixing it all together. Which of these hands is clean enough to handle my mouse? Oh gosh, I have cocoa powder on my wool sweater. Good enough. Maybe not good enough. I'm gonna have to wash this. That's fine. Gonna quickly remove my glove so that I can safely touch my mouth. Wish you could stay to see the final product, but your eyes aren't willing to keep up. Hope it goes well. They're gonna turn out awesome. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. I super appreciate it. I will be posting these pictures on Twitter when I'm done, so you'll be able to see the finished product then. Because I have a lot of cocoa powder on here. Whoopsies. Because, like, yeah, most of them won't even be finished tonight because they gotta sit in the freezer. The only ones that aren't sitting in the freezer are the snowball cookies. Brown butter snowball cookies. Woo! Anyway, have a good night. Bye. And in the meantime, I'm going to start on this. I need a half cup of butter again. I'm going to put this off to the side. Again, I'm going to be chopping this hunk of butter into littler butter pieces and yeeting them into my metal bowl. Nice, easily cuttable, room temperature butter. Ow. I'm not exercising proper knife safety because I'm looking at the camera and not at my fingies. It's okay, it's a butter knife. It's not really going to do too much at the force that I'm cutting with. Okay, I'm going to tuck this back up underneath my camera. Wiping my fingers off again. Wow. My gloves are buttery. Oops. Okay, sugar. How much sugar does this need? 1/3 cup caster sugar. So let's find the 1/3 cup. I don't have caster sugar, and I'm too lazy to pull out the blender. So we're going to fill this halfway up. With caster sugar, and then top it up with 3/4 of half of a 1/3 of a cup, whatever that adds up to, hence why I'm making it up. Perfect. Okay, I didn't actually look at the instructions for this. Maybe I should have done that. Mix together butter with caster sugar. Perfect. Gonna grab the big one this time. And we're gonna just do the same thing. Just mix things. There's sugar that I'm getting everywhere, I'm sure. Ideally, I'd like to spend about half an hour on each recipe. Get this done in 2 hours. Have time to clean up before going to bed. Wow, this big spoon's really effective. Look how quickly it just ate that sugar up. We've already got a nice, like, ball of sugar going. I'm gonna stand up again, get a bit more leverage. I'm just stopping and twisting. Okay. Well, most of that's on my spoon. What is next? Vanilla extract. So we need another teaspoon of that good stuff. So that's measured out and added to the bowl. And then it says to mix it some more. These are eggless. A lot of Manali's recipes have vegan options or are already vegan. So she makes lots of eggless recipes when she's baking. This doesn't have an egg to add that little bit of liquid to it. We're getting it good and combined. While mixing with our hands. Well, spoon. Giant, comically oversized spoon. Oh, my arms are tired. Okay. Smells divine. Now add flour, sugar, cornstarch, and salt. Okay, so a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Same thing as before. Okay. I was like, did I just jam my face into the camera? Where is my 1/8 teaspoon? Ah, it's hiding under the lid for my flour. Okay, so we're gonna half fill this 1/4 teaspoon. Salt is important, even in sweet things. It helps bring flavor out. It helps chemically in the baking process. 'Cause baking's kind of like chemistry. Okay, what do we need? Cornstarch, right? 1 tablespoon. 1 tablespoon? Jesus Christ. Okay. Already have my cornstarch open because I desperately had to use it to try to thicken up the sauce that I made for dinner, which I will be posting also on Twitter later. It was a bit of a failure, but it still tasted very good. I made a roasted red pepper cream sauce. It's basically an Alfredo sauce. Okay, and then we need 1 cup of flour. Come on. Let's go. Need to top that up a little bit. Okay. Good enough. Okay. Again, slowly start mixing. These are basically just butter cookies. The thing that makes these ones special is that tomorrow, when the flour is ready, I get to spoon jam in, when the dough's ready, I get to spoon jam into it. I make little divots with my thumb and put jam in it. So I've never made cookies that have used jam before, and I always liked peak farines when I was younger. I never got them. So I kind of get to make like my own now. Because there's not a lot of liquid in here, it's not combining overly well, but just kind of keep at it, keep smushing the butter up so that you're introducing wet to dry. And eventually it'll combine. If you get super bored, you can go in with your hands, which I'm tempted to do in a moment. Ugh. I am short compared to this table and this bowl height. Step, step, step. Okay. So a lot of the big chunks are kind of gone. I'm going to call it and say that it is time to combine with my hands manually. Manus, the Latin word for hand. There is where the term manually is derived from. So to do something manually means you're doing it with your hands. Really not. I guess, yeah, okay. It is starting to come together. It's kind of got the consistency of roti, where it's very flaky. And it might need a bit more butter introduced to it. I might have added too much flour, because it's kind of flaky. But it smells like vanilla, and that is beautiful. Okay, yeah, it's starting to come together a bit better now. Weird little dark spots, if you see them, are just bits of chocolate from the last cookies. So I got some in this bowl. Yeah, I feel like a lot of VTubers and just like folks who spend a lot of time on the internet might not know about like how to cook or how to bake, because they might be young or they might just never have been taught. So I kind of want to educate folks. I kind of noticed in the last couple days 2 different VTubers who don't wash their rice. And not that, like, it's kind of a problem, but it really just depends on the variety of rice. Because there's some varieties of rice where you don't have to wash it. I personally don't know what they are off the top of my head. Last time I came across that, my old roommate called her friend to be like, hey, do we wash this rice before we cook it? Yeah, it's starting to really come together now. More of a lump. So this is almost ready to leave to cool in the fridge or freezer. Let me see, what does it say? Huh. Okay, so I apparently have to freeze this, or chill it in the fridge, sorry. I have to put it in the fridge, but with the little divots. So I need to portion these out and make the little divots. That's cool. Okay, this looks really good. Don't want to work it too much, just want it to be nicely combined. Yeah, this is my dough. Okay, line a baking sheet with parchment paper. Roll the dough into small balls around 20 to 22 grams each. I'm not freaking measuring them, but it should create about 16 balls. Silky said the funny word. Silky said balls. Anyway, I've got the sense of humor of a child. Here we are. Hey look, a conveniently placed baking sheet. Okay, so we're going to start. I'm going to actually kind of measure this out to a degree. Okay, so that's half, quarter, eighth, So each of these little balls will create 2 cookies. Just because I have trouble visualizing otherwise. So we're going to want to take half of one and roll it in a ball in our hands so we get a nice little ball. I'm not going to do the indent stage until we get all these rolled into balls so that you guys can see. Nice little ball. They don't have to be perfect. They're cookies. They just gotta be yummy. You want to try to get them, the balls to be fairly even though. So like this ball's a little bit too big. I'm going to donate some of its dough to the next bowl. Because if your cookies are uneven sizes, they're going to bake unevenly. I got a hair in this. That's tragic. That goes in the garbage. So if your cookies are uneven, they're going to bake unevenly. So the smaller ones will start to burn before the bigger ones will be fully cooked. And you don't want that. You want everything to take the same amount of time so that it all cooks and looks even. Otherwise, like, you might have to pull things out of the oven beforehand, or like before it's done. It just seems like a pain in the butt to me. Actually, it looks like we have enough for 15, not 16, which works for how I've got these lined up on my cookie tray, which you guys will see in a moment. Just gonna expedite the ball making process. Easy. Roll it. Last bowl. I'm going to take one of the smaller ones and smush up all the little lasting bits of dough in here. Re-roll it. Move this out of the way temporarily. And now we've got 15 of these. You can't see the last row. So you'll notice some of these are a bit smaller than these, so I can like pinch off a little bit. Re-roll. Add it to this. Same thing with this one. It's still too big, even though I've already pinched some of it off. Re-roll. Re-roll. Okay, it's looking a little bit more even. Okay, so now we get to use our thumbs. Using the back of a spoon or a quarter measuring spoon, press an indent in the center of the cookie dough. That's not fun. That's boring. So instead, I'm going to use my index finger. So the dough split a little bit. I'm just going to kind of repair it by smushing it in with what's next to it. But we want that divot so that we can put a nice little dollop of jam in there. And yeah, probably see better on this one where it's starting to split a little bit. Just a little bit of touching. We'll repair it. Remember, this is basically just sugar and flour, so... And butter, sorry. Forgot. I meant to say butter. I don't know why I didn't say that. Butter is like the main ingredient. Oh wow, this one really is giving me a tough time. These little ones. I'm not doing these in an even way at all, which might bother some of you. It bothers me. I don't know why I'm doing it this way. Just gonna do some of these ones on the third row. So we're basically done these just before the hour mark, which gives us time to do the next two. So next up, we're going to do the brown butter snowball cookies so that we can actually enjoy them tonight. Is the plan, at least. Okay, perfect. Yep, so cover and chill for 4 hours. So you're going to go over here on the chair. And I'm going to need a new cookie tray for the last one. Okay, let's bring back this bowl that already has crud in it. Okay. This calls for a whole cup of butter. Can I half this recipe? How many cookies does this make? Oh yeah, I'm halving this recipe. 2 cups of flour, half that. Okay, so again, taking half a cup of butter, going through an entire pound of butter, or whatever this is, today. Doxing my country with the brand of butter I have. I haven't had water in an hour. I should probably take a break to do that. Chopping butter. And then we'll make the gingerbread cookies last. So if I don't make those, I won't be like quite as sad, especially I feel like one of my family members might be making them again this year. I haven't actually talked to them to figure that out. So we're just winging it. I'll show like proper cutting technique when we get to the pecan part. That'll be fun. Okay, getting the last of the butter off. And sliding this bad boy under the camera once again. Okay. I need more paper towel. But conveniently, the whole roll is right here. So I can wipe off these gloves from all the freaking butter on them. Okay. I'm gonna put that there. Okay, what's next? Brown butter. Fuck that. Okay, I'm gonna go preheat the oven to 350 degrees. I will be back in 1 second. Okay, oven is preheating to 3 fundos, as You Suck at Cooking would say. I don't actually watch his videos. I gotta roast the frickin' pecans? How much pecans? 1 cup. Well, here are pecans. Paid $9.99 for this pack of pecans. Oh my god, the socks with buttery gloves on. Oh my god, I'm ripping my nails. Ah! Okay, I'm gonna be back in a second. Gonna go prepare the pan for these and take these off. Or whatever. Open it without gloves on. Ugh. Ah. Struggling. Anyway. Okay, we're back. Right. So the pecans are in the oven right now. I put everything in the fridge that needed to go into the fridge. I'm looking at the wrong recipe. Still looking at the wrong... There we go. Okay. Yes, we're working on the brown butter snowball cookies from Cooking with Manali right now. Yeah. Soon we'll be chopping the pecans once they're out of the oven. Okay, so we want to add powdered sugar and vanilla next. Quarter cup of powdered sugar. Icing sugar, confectioner's sugar, powdered sugar. It's all the same thing. 1/4 cup. That's done. A teaspoon of vanilla extract, and we're going to mix it all together. This is a 1/2 teaspoon, but it's wet. So I might have been putting not enough vanilla in my last recipes. This is maybe the last one. I don't know. Whatever. Where's the big spoon? I'm trapped. There we go. Okay. We're just going to do the same thing we did before. Just smushing it together so the wet becomes familiar with the dry. Incorporate the sugar evenly into the butter while we wait for the pecans to cook. Once they're out of the oven, I will chop them. Also, maybe don't make this recipe if you have a nut allergy. I didn't know almonds were like as closely related to peanuts. I didn't realize almonds were nuts. I don't know. It didn't clue in. Because like, I think they're technically legumes and so are peanuts. But people with like a deadly peanut allergy tend to also be allergic to almonds, apparently. Which I found out once when a kid who was allergic to peanuts was like, "What's in that bar?" and like ran away. Didn't give him a reaction or anything. I felt really bad. Okay, it's looking pretty incorporated and clumpy. And smells really good. Okay. Next, we add the dry ingredients. Butter stuck to my thumb. Okay, just wiping it off. So we want to add our dry ingredients, which is flour, salt, and cinnamon powder. So we're going to need 1/8 teaspoon of salt again. We're just going to use the 1/4 teaspoon that I consistently lose. And just fill it halfway. Okay. Next, we're gonna need a brain. Okay, so we're having the recipe. It says 3/4 teaspoon cinnamon powder. So we need 3/8 teaspoon of cinnamon powder, which is basically 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon powder. Doesn't matter. I'm doing it. Quarter teaspoon. Half a teaspoon. Set that aside. Okay. Oh, you have to roll these in powdered sugar as well, so we will get to see that happen with these cookies. Last but not least, flour, 1 cup flour. Same thing as it has been. And then introduce wet to dry. We smush it all together. Trying to make sure that the salt, which we can't really see, and the cinnamon powder, which we can see, gets spread around a little. So that's why I'm just like mixing around the bowl right now. Now I'm going to get to smushing the butter so that the wet butter gets acquainted with the dry flour. Smush it around. I guess I didn't really get an opportunity to talk about folding as a method of mixing. So it's kind of hard to show with these. If I had a more full bowl, I could really demonstrate folding, but like, kind of want to mix around the edge, scoop some of it, and then kind of like shove it down in. So you're not just like mixing about, you're scooping and folding down. Also harder to do when what you're currently trying to fold is mostly powder. So I'm going to start mashing this together by hand again. Oh, wait, my pecans are done. Shit. Okay, give me a second. My people need me. Fun fact, baked pecans, which I burnt a little bit, but that's okay, smell like butter, like popcorn with butter. It's really nice, actually. It's like I'm at the movie theater. Anyway, back to mixing. Smush everything by hand. So we're not going to fully incorporate this yet. So we're going to get the pecans in here in a minute. I'm just letting them cool because they are very hot. Wow, stuff all over my arms. Okay. So there's also sugar and flour and stuff on this, but whatever. Because I'm not touching the pecans, I'm just having my other hand safely on top of the knife so that it doesn't accidentally get underneath the knife. Another etiquette when you're chopping things is to curl your fingers inward so that, like, if anything, you just scrape the top of your knuckle. I was chopping like this once, but adjusting the things under the knife. And I got the knife, like, most of the way through my nail once. It's a highly unpleasant experience. I don't recommend going through that experience. So, knife safety, please. These small pieces can definitely start going into the bowl. Just want to make sure that I don't accidentally get any big pieces in while I do that. Okay. My desk is a mess of pecans. Note to self, have a bigger cutting board when doing this. So I still have the oven going for when we put these particular cookies in. And hey look, I conveniently have a bowl that I brought the walnuts over in to pour powdered sugar into to roll the dough. And I remember to only do half a cup of walnuts because I'm having the recipe. I don't want too much walnut in these cookies. Okay. Scooping some of this crap from my desk. And back to mixing by hand with added crunch and a bit of heat. Okay, so once it comes together, yeah, it says the mixture will be a bit crumbly, but will come together if you press with your hands. So here we are. I need some leverage. So I'm standing up a bit. Yep, we're starting to get a nice mound of dough. I like to use the butt of my hand. So here's my palm. This is like the butt of my hand rather than using my knuckles and like punching down. I don't really know why. It's just kind of what I prefer to do. I don't know if any way is particularly superior. So do whatever's comfortable for you. So yeah, it's almost done, coming together. I should go get the baking tray that's in my kitchen that I didn't bring over because it was hot and fresh out of the oven because of these pecans. Okay, so let's combine it all. I almost used my other hand, but I kind of need it to be clean to touch my doorknob. Okay. Nice little log of dough. I fucked up. Okay. Well, I'm going to roll it into a ball because whatever. Pick up the stray bits of dough. Make small balls from the dough. So about 12 or so cookies we'll be able to get from this. So we want them about the same size as the thumbprint cookies. I might be making them a little bit too big. I'm going to try to make the next ones a bit smaller. Ugh. That one broke apart. I might just like leave the balls in the bowl here and then just take the bowl with me to the kitchen. But these smell really nice. It's like the cinnamon's playing off of the butter and the pecans. Always when they get to a nice ball shape, I end up squishing them too much. So I have to like put it back together. How many do we have now? 7, 8, 9, 10. The pecans kind of make it a bit harder for them to stick together. 10. 11. And 12. Okay, I will be right back again. Wipe some of this butter off of me. Yeah, so I'll be right back. I'm going to go put these in the oven and then we'll start on the gingerbread. I forgot to roll them in icing sugar. Oopsies. That should be good. 15 to 17 minutes. Okay, sweet. I'll be back. Since I should show you guys the rolling process. Just kind of dip it in, roll it, done. Dip it in, roll it. Doesn't have to be perfect. You don't want it caked on. Just enough that you get a light dusting. Then it says to dust it again when you take them out of the oven. actually, never mind. It says to dust before. No, wait. Oh, well, they're still warm. Well, I'm gonna put half of them in. Be right back. Well, I'm a big old dummy. Anyway. I forgot the bowl. For fuck's sake. Fell into my chair. Okay, last ones. Gingerbread cookies. Let's go. Speed run. Okay, butter again. Two-thirds of a cup. Well, I have half a cup here and then more in the other room, so I'll go get more butter. Going through an entire thing of butter. Okay, and I'm gonna go get that extra little bit of butter. I'll be right back. Didn't drop my expensive headphones on the floor. Need another paper towel. Ow. Hit myself in the face with my headphones. Okay, so we got the butter. Beat it, whatever. Add brown sugar and molasses. 3/4 cup of brown sugar. So if we remember, our brown sugar's stuck solid. So we're gonna use white sugar, and I know that doesn't make sense for this because it's gingerbread, but is what it is. that's it for my butter. Or butter. Sugar. Let's see if I can salvage any more of this brown sugar. Just enough to say I tried. You can see my struggle, kind of. Okay. Enough to say I tried. Where's the blasted lid for this thing? That's the lid for that. I have lots of dishes to do. Okay. So yeah, let's get mixing brown sugar and molasses. How much molasses will I need? 2/3 of a cup. I think I have an open thing of molasses, but like so little in there. Where's my 1/3 of a cup? That's so nasty looking. I think the last time we used molasses is when my roommate made bagels from scratch at the beginning of the panini. Good enough. This is so goopy. Using the knife to expedite the exit from this measuring cup. Doesn't really have a pleasant smell either. Was it Boston in like the 1800s that drowned in molasses? Like people actually died. There was this molasses storage thing, and I think it got damaged in a flood or a fire or something. And grabbing my spoon, and the town got like overflowed with molasses, and because it's so thick, people had trouble escaping it and died. Maybe it was Chicago, maybe it was Boston, I don't know. Oh, this looks so nasty. But because it's so liquidy, it's easy to actually like mix. Kind of smells like baked beans. Kind of looks like baked beans. I guess, yeah, because there's molasses in baked beans. Makes sense. Getting the butter all nice and mixed in. So this we're going to also put in the fridge, but it's going to be put in the fridge as like a disc. Also, I'm going to have to run when the other cookies need to come out of the oven. There's still some chunks of butter though. I'm trying to get them good and smushed and incorporated. I got some on my thumb. That was a mistake. Okay. When do you add the egg? Okay, well, it didn't say to add the egg. Oh, wait, yeah. Next, beat an egg and vanilla. There we go. Egg added. Fuck. There we go. I'll wipe it down. You know, raw eggs, for the most part, are actually pretty safe. When you can't eat dough raw, it's because of the flour. The flour is more likely to make you sick. How much vanilla? 1 teaspoon. Eggs still have the risk of giving you salmonella, but too much, but whatever. Most Western countries have fairly strict protocols on the handling and food safety of eggs. So you can have something like gohan tamago, like egg rice, Japanese dish. But you see in some anime where like the characters have this piping hot bowl of white rice and looks super yummy. Then they crack a raw egg into it, add some soy sauce, stir it up and eat it. It's freaking delicious. It's a very simple, easy to make meal. This looks weird as hell. But it's pretty safe. It's safer in Japan. I've heard they've got different rules on dealing with the eggs. Here in my country, I'll still do it. To live on the edge. I take no responsibility if anyone listens to me. Ah! It says the butter may separate, that's okay. Yeah, that looks like what's happened here. This actually kind of is what happened with my sauce earlier. This is basically an Alfredo sauce and the cheese didn't melt properly. Okay, what is next? Dry ingredients. I'll put the lid on this bad boy. Okay, let's start opening things. Okay, where's the 1/4 teaspoon? Okay, how much salt? 1/2 teaspoon, so 2 of these bad boys. A bit more salt in this. Adding a tiny bit more because those were not full. Okay. How much baking soda? 1 teaspoon, so 4 of these. 1, 2. That's only half. 3, 4. Full tablespoon of ginger. That's about all I have left. Maybe even a little bit less. I'm just going to dump what's left in this jar. I use powdered ginger a lot because I'm usually too lazy to use fresh ginger. But I'll make something with fresh ginger at one point to show everyone how to peel ginger properly because it's actually a fun little trick involving a spoon. 1 tablespoon ground cinnamon. Oh boy. That's not a tablespoon. almost all of my cinnamon as well. I'm gonna have to make a big grocery list after this. Ah, my cookies call. I'm sorry that you heard my phone buzzing. Everything just kind of happened at once. Backup alarm. I'm going to mix these in because I feel like it. The cookies are done. They're just cooling very slightly before I add powdered sugar to them. Okay, what's next? Okay, we have ginger, cinnamon, allspice, and cloves, half a teaspoon each. One, two of allspice. One, two of cloves. This kind of lid where you need to like open it, don't bother breaking your nail on it. Just use the back of your spoon to pop it open. Super quick. And then finally, holy shit balls, 3.5 cups of flour. Okay, well, let's mix this right in. For 1 egg? God damn. One. Two. Gonna mix these in gently. Now I can demonstrate folding. Purpose of folding is to just introduce the wet to the dry in a gentle manner. Looks like it's already getting thick and it's like just over half the flour, but you'll see pretty quickly that it's gonna be super wet again. Well, not super wet, but it's gonna need more flour. Yeah, it's already nicely incorporated. Okay. One. And 1/2. That's it for ingredients. Woot! Just gotta mix this up. Turn it into a disc. Roll the other cookies in powdered sugar, and enjoy them. Probably gonna get my hand in this soon. If anything, to just get all this gunk off the spoon. perfectly good molasses, wet gunk that can be incorporated with the dry gunk. Okay, let's go. My dust is currently driving me nuts because I like to clean up and put things away as I finish with them, but I'm trying to expedite this process so that I can clean things up after. So it's a little bit too messy for my poor little brain to handle. A tiny little spider brain. It's starting to come together. See, it's still a little flaky. That's why I picked the clip art of the dude mixing. Where it's just like a hand with a glove shoved into a bowl. At first I only saw one with like ground meat. I'm like, I need something different. So I found one with like something white. So I was like, well, good enough. Cookie dough. Cake flour. I don't know. Cake dough. Anything. Getting there. Almost done. I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do for cutting these out. I might just take the dough with me to the family member's place and re-chill it there. 'Cause I'm going to see some family tomorrow. It's going to be a busy day. I got lots to do tomorrow. Okay, almost done. Almost done. There's still a couple dry spots that I'm working on incorporating in a bit better. But some of it is because it's just picking up stuff off the sides. Okay, final mix with both hands. So I gotta shape it into a disc. Oop, that got a bit of flour. Big old disc. Big old disc. Okay, one last BRB. I'm going to take this to the kitchen with me. But basically, the gingerbread cookies are done for today. Oh shit, I'm supposed to split it in half, then make 2 discs. Shit. I'm just gonna split it with a bench scraper. Call it close enough. I'll be back. cookies are done. Adding a bit more powdered sugar. Oops. Worst comes to worst, I can use that tomorrow. And then gotta finish letting these cool. They're still pretty hot. So I might be able to eat like a small one, but I'm just going to finish powdering these, leave one in the bowl for me to snack on, and put this back in the kitchen where it can cool properly. Realized I lifted that way too high. My wrist is getting tired. And I will leave that in there. I'll put this away. In time for the final taste test. Took my mask off so you might be able to hear me a tad better. Bon appetit. Very warm. Nom nom nom. Pecan flavor. Good to hear my chewing. Yeah, not very sweet. Perfect. Okay, everything else I will bake tomorrow once it's sufficiently cooled. And I will post pictures on Twitter. I'm also going to post pictures on Twitter of my dinner. I've been trying to post pictures of things that I make to try to maybe inspire you guys to cook a little. If you have any questions about cooking or baking, let me know. I might be able to help. I'm not an expert. I just make things. Just want to kind of get other people making things too, you know? It's nice. I'm not really a hand talker. I have to like purposely move my hands. So yeah, it's weird because I have ADHD. I need to keep my hands busy, but right now it's busy with stickiness. So yeah, that's it for me for this year. Have a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate. Happy New Year. I will be back in the new year with a new schedule. We'll figure out what I'm doing then. I have no idea. I'm just gonna shut my brain off for a week and a half. Woo! But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you made something delicious as well. Maybe you learned something. I don't know. Anyway, I'm droning on too much. I would like to clean and vacuum before it's way too late to vacuum. So, I've been Silky Kumo. These have been my fingies. Bye-bye.